Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some intriguing stuff to dig into today. Our listener sent in some fascinating material about Vatican I and a pivotal figure, Joseph Kleutgen. So we're diving deep into church history, theological controversy, and even some surprising personal stories that really make you look at this era differently.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to me how this deep dive, it really unveils this really human side to something as monumental as the formation of Catholic doctrine,
Yeah, absolutely. And the source really paints Vatican I as this turning point, this point of no return for the Catholic Church,
Right.
particularly when it comes to its relationship with the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Okay.
It really argues that before this council, before Vatican I,
Right.
there was this genuine hope for reunification.
Yeah, and we see this hope in Pope Pius IX's attempts to kind of, bridge this gap, right? Like in 1848,
Okay.
he wrote his epistle to the Easterners,
Mm-hmm.
but it was ultimately rejected.
Right.
And the source really seems to suggest that Pius IX knew
Okay.
that Vatican I would only solidify this divide.
Because it's centered around this whole concept of papal infallibility.
Exactly.
Which obviously the Eastern Orthodox Church,
Right, they did not accept that.
they didn't accept.
Which essentially means that the Pope is believed to be, free from error
Right.
when he's speaking on matters of faith and morals.
Okay.
And the source really argues that this declaration, that it created this chasm, between the Catholic Church
Right.
and other branches of Christianity. And it's almost like it changed the rules of engagement
Yeah.
in a way.
And it wasn't just future reunification efforts, but this is affecting
Right.
Eastern Christians who had already unified with Rome.
That's right.
The Uniate churches who, as many people know, maintain their own liturgical practices, but they are in communion with the Roman Catholic Church.
Precisely. And the source really uses the Uniates to illustrate what might have happened if the Eastern Orthodox Church had unified before Vatican I, because it would have then been bound by these new doctrines.
Right.
And there's this telling example of Gregory II, Yusuf,
Okay.
who was the Uniate Patriarch of Antioch.
Mm-hmm.
And he defended the traditional rights of Eastern patriarchs
Okay.
and faced really, really severe backlash for it.
Oh, wow.
And it really just highlights this tension surrounding Vatican I
Right.
and its far-reaching implications.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have this already tumultuous environment,
Right.
and into this environment enters Joseph Kleutgen.
Yes.
And he is revered by some as this brilliant theologian, like instrumental in shaping this dogma of papal infallibility. But yeah.
And yet he's also connected to this rather scandalous episode
Yeah.
at the convent of St. Ambrose.
Right. This is where it takes a turn.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Right. The source is alleging lesbian relationships, occult practices, even whispers of a murder plot within this convent.
Yeah. It's quite a story.
And Kleutgen, according to the source, is directly involved in this.
Not just as a bystander either.
Right.
Right. The source alleges this romantic relationship between Kleutgen and Sister Maria Luisa.
Mm-hmm.
This central figure in all of this controversy.
It's just surprising to hear, that he defended the convent's activities to Rome.
Right.
Especially considering the allegations.
Especially with what we're hearing, yeah.
Right, but the source claims that he was later convicted as a heretic for his involvement.
Yeah, it's a startling contrast when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
The architect of papal infallibility condemned as a heretic. This is what makes Kleutgen such a fascinating figure in this whole narrative.
And it's not even like, a harsh sentence or anything.
Right. And that's what's so interesting about all this, because according to the source, he was supposed to be imprisoned, right?
Right.
But instead, he ends up in a Jesuit house of recreation.
Oh, wow.
And he even continues to write in defense of the papacy from this, supposed place of confinement, and
so it's almost like a slap on the wrist, really.
Yeah, and what's even more striking, I think, is that this whole story, this whole St. Ambrose convent thing,
right,
it's kept under wraps for over a century.
Yeah. The source says it wasn't until 1998.
Right.
When they opened the archives in the Roman Inquisition.
Exactly. That all these details really came to light.
What kind of impact does that have, to keep something like this hidden for so long?
Well, the source really argues that it casts this long shadow, over Vatican.
Okay.
Because to think, right, like one of the architects of this foundational doctrine
Mm-hmm.
is potentially, living this life that's at odds with the very teachings he's promoting. It really makes you kind of question the bedrock on which these pronouncements are being made.
Yeah. And are they suggesting this is part of a larger pattern in the church, this kind of cover-up?
Yeah, it does seem to draw a parallel to, some present-day anxieties within the church
Okay.
about, financial
Yeah.
misconduct, abuse,
Right.
and even, what some have called the lavender mafia.
Right,
This
right.
idea of, a network of gay clergy within the Catholic Church.
So we're talking about transparency and accountability here.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Even when it comes to figures who hold significant authority.
especially when it comes to those who are, defining and upholding doctrine, right?
Right.
If those very people are potentially implicated in these scandals,
It makes you wonder,
it really makes you wonder how much trust can be placed in the institution.
especially when you think about how much the Catholic Church
Right.
emphasizes faith and obedience to authority.
Absolutely. It definitely adds another layer to the whole thing. And to be fair, the source isn't saying that all doctrines are flawed or that,
Right.
faith is misplaced, but it's really prompting us to grapple with this human element, within these systems.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that even these institutions that claim divine authority are ultimately
Right.
run by us,
Individuals with our flaws.
Exactly, with our own complexities,
Right.
our own flaws.
Yeah, it's not black and white.
No,
It's history and even faith.
it's complicated.
Right. It's complicated. So what can we take away from this?
Yeah, what do we do with all this information? I think what I find compelling about this
Okay.
is it really encourages us to kind of approach these topics not just with blind acceptance,
Right.
but with a critical eye.
Okay.
It's about asking these tough questions,
Yeah.
doing thoughtful research, looking at different perspectives.
Taking ownership of our understanding of it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the source wants, right? They
Yeah.
want us to see this story about Vatican and about Joseph Kleutgen, not as just some historical curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
but as this reminder that power, even when it's dressed up in this religious authority, can be abused.
Right.
And it's a call for us to be vigilant, to really push for transparency,
Yeah.
and to think critically about the institutions and the people that we place our trust in.
Wow, this story hidden for so long and then it comes out and it's
Right.
relevant today.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing to me how these like really human stories, they come out of these theological debates,
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't think about Kleitgen and think scandal, at first glance.
Right. And I think that's the power of this kind of deep dive.
Yeah.
Where you can really peel back these layers and see these complexities, because it reminds us that, even the people who are shaping doctrine
Mhm.
or interpreting faith are ultimately shaped by their own experiences
Totally.
and their own contradictions.
Yeah, and uncovering those contradictions.
Yeah.
Like we're doing. Like, makes you really wonder, like,
Yeah, what else is out there?
what other stories are hidden in the archives?
Right.
That could give us a whole new perspective.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting, I think, about all of this.
Yeah.
It's not about finding the definitive answers.
Right.
But it's about, like, embracing the unknown, embracing the question.
Yeah.
And recognizing that history is this ongoing dialogue, and we're all a part of shaping that conversation.
We all have our part.
But looking for these different perspectives.
Yeah, it gives us a lot to think about. I mean, it seems like this deep dive it's not even really just about Vatican
Right.
or just about Joseph Kleitgen.
So it's bigger than that.
It's about how we approach, like, history and faith and these institutions of power.
Absolutely. And what I think is really insightful here is how this one story, it reveals these patterns,
Yeah.
this idea of power, of belief, the lengths to which institutions will go to protect themselves. And these are things that, we see over and over
Throughout history.
across time, across different contexts. So it's almost like a
Cautionary tale in a way.
to really encourage us to be critical.
To not just accept things,
Not just take things at face value, but to really question, even when it's uncomfortable.
Right, even when it's something that we hold to be true.
Exactly.
And we don't want to question that, but maybe we should.
Because ultimately it's about trying to reach a deeper understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
And sometimes that means confronting some difficult realities, right?
Yeah.
About institutions we revere or figures that we hold up as these great people.
Yeah, this has been a lot to think about.
It certainly has.
To our listeners out there, thank you for providing this source material.
Yeah, this has been great.
And we encourage you to keep exploring these topics, keep questioning, and keep seeking a deeper understanding. It's out there.
It is out there.
You gotta put in the work
That's right.
to find it.
And you never know what you're going to find.
And oftentimes, it's the things we least expect
Absolutely.
that provide us with the most profound truths